then in a most interesting statement in verse 2, Peter says this, to obey Jesus Christ and be sprinkled with his blood. Well, what does that mean? That's not talking about salvation as regards his death on the cross. There's nothing about being sprinkled with the blood of Christ in any of the epistles of the New Testament. So what in the world is Peter referring to? What do you mean, obey Jesus Christ and be sprinkled with his blood? Well, Peter is an Old Testament scholar. He knows his Old Testament. And I'll show you where he drew this from. Go back to Exodus, the second book in the Old Testament, and the 24th chapter. One of the most interesting events between God and his ancient people, Israel. Moses, you know, has been given the law, right? It's laid out in the 20th chapter. And he brings it before the people, and he starts unfolding what it is that God wants them to do. He lays out the law of God. Verse 3, Moses came, recounted to the people all the words of the Lord, all the ordinances, and all the people answered with one voice and said, all the words which the Lord has spoken we will do. Now that is an oath of obedience. That is a pledge made to God. That in a sense is a covenant. The people say, all the words which the Lord has spoken we will do. Then Moses wrote down all the words. First he gave them verbally, then he wrote them down. Then he arose early in the morning, and he built an altar at the foot of the mountain with 12 pillars, each one for one of the 12 tribes of Israel. He sent young men of the sons of Israel. They offered burnt offerings and sacrificed young bulls as peace offerings to the Lord. Then a slaughter began, a slaughter of animals, because you have a lot of people here, a lot of people, numbering 1 or 2 million people in the group that came out of Egypt. So they slaughtered these animals. And then Moses, in verse 6, took half the blood and put it in basins. And that word basin means a kind of a flat basin, much like a huge saucer. And the other half he sprinkled on the altar. So half of the blood is all collected from these animals. Half of it is put into saucers, and half of it is put on this altar. Then he took the book of the covenant that he had written down and read it in the hearing of the people. And they said again, all that the Lord has spoken we will do, and we will be obedient. Now, in ancient times, how did they seal a promise? What did they use to seal a covenant or a promise? Blood. So Moses took the blood and literally sloshed it on the people. Those large saucers he just threw at the people. They went through the massive crowd, splattering everybody with blood, and said, behold the blood of the covenant, which the Lord has made with you in accordance with all these words. In that moment, a covenant was made. God said, here is my law. Obey my law and you'll be blessed. That was God's part of the promise. And the people said, we will obey. And that was their part of the promise. And to seal the covenant both ways, blood was poured on the altar representing God and splattered on the people representing them. That's what Peter has in mind. Let's go back to 1 Peter with that scene vividly on our thoughts. When you came to Christ, and Jesus Christ promised you blessing and grace and mercy and forgiveness and hope and joy and salvation, he made his part of the promise. And what was yours? To obey Jesus Christ, which is just another way to say to confess him as your what? Your Lord. And it's as if at that moment blood was splattered on you in the same way that it was splattered on the children of Israel at Sinai back in Exodus 24. Salvation is a covenant of obedience. In our case, it's not the blood of animals that is splattered, it's the blood of Christ. In a sort of symbolic sense, his blood is splattered on us as we affirm our obedience to him. Can somebody be saved if they're unwilling to confess Jesus as Lord? No. Romans 10, 9, and 10, you believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead and confess with your mouth Jesus as Lord, you will be saved.